Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Collaboration Conversations. I'm here with my co host, Pearl Cox of POW, Pearls of Wisdom. Good morning, Pearl.
Good morning, Regina, and good morning, everyone.
Great to see you this morning. So, yeah, let's dive right in because, I know that you and I could sit here and chat all day long, but let's dive right in and talk about some collaboration types of things. So, just for those of you who may be catching us for the first time, uh, Pearl and I do this twice a week, and we frequently have guests that we interview who are making a difference in the collaboration world and what that does. So, Pearl, let's kind of maybe give an overview to start with of collaboration, what that means to you, and also looking at we hear the terms joint ventures and alliances a lot. How does that play into collaboration? Is it the same thing? Is it different? Talk to us a little bit about what is collaboration?
Right. Well, collaboration to me, first and foremost, it is my word of the year, and that is what I'm doing. I Most of the projects I'm running will be as collaborations. So it's a case of bringing people together. And that's just it. With collaborations, I see it as yes, I'm the instigator, I will run it, but you can have many people join, many voices that would come together and everyone gets something from it. A joint venture is equal partnerships. Like you and I are in a joint venture partnership as well, which yes, it came from the idea of collaboration, but our joint venture partnership is something that we both put into and we will both earn from. The
Okay.
collaboration, there's normally one or two drivers, but you have many more people involved. At least that's what I see as the difference. I don't, I don't know if you'd agree with me with that.
Yeah, I do. I do. And I'm sure there are multiple definitions out there. And so it's important to identify to really know when you're talking to someone who's using those terms, what do they mean by it, right?
Yeah.
So you have a full understanding of what it is that you're looking at being a part of or not being a part of. Awesome. Um, okay, so you mentioned that we're in some collaborations and some joint ventures together. And let's talk about some of those, okay? So let's start with one of my favorite projects that you have. Get that out right, and that's your Women Who Lead project. Let's talk a little bit about that and how you are collaborating on that.
Right now, what that is, it's a Women Who Lead book where I'm asking for contributing authors so that people will write a chapter on what it is they lead in. And because so many people were thinking they saw the title Women Who Lead and everyone thought it was a leadership book. Well, it's not. I will be doing a leadership book. There will be lots of book collaborations. But this one, where it's Women Who Lead, see it as a PR machine, as a PR piece for you to share what it is you excel at, because that's what each contributing author is writing about, what their key driver is, what it is that they do best. So they talk about that, and it's more thought leadership than leadership in the business sense. So that's why I've called it Women Who Lead. Ideally, I wanted it to run alongside the International Women's Day, but due to illness, I've learned I can't do everything at once, and there's no rewind button. If I had a rewind button, I'd get 3 days into one if I could possibly. So I'm thinking, no, it's going to be like I'm saying to people, it will probably be May, June time when the book will be published. So it's still open for people to join, because I know that originally we wanted it all done and dusted ready for March, but I knew physically we couldn't do that. So yes, this is what there's still a chance you can still be a contributing author, you can still join us, and we're looking. Then the first draft, we'll work for that, and we could literally say 90 days from now, where it'll be 1 month to write the chapter, another month for edits, and then the third month will be ready for publishing.
Awesome, awesome. And that's your Women Who Lead project.
Yep.
And I'm excited to be a part of that project. It reminds me of a conversation I had yesterday, though, with I was actually doing a podcast interview with a guest, and the question came up about the books that they have written. And for a time, there was, it seems like that for a time there was kind of a big push on collaboration books.
Mm.
And then it was as though that group of people who had done a collaboration book, that they wanted to have their own book, which is great, right? But there was then this not a disdain necessarily, but a of like, okay, well, you don't need those collaboration books anymore. You've got your own platform now. You've got your own book out there, so you don't need that. And this person that I was visiting with yesterday on the podcast, and I said, so now you have 4 books out, is that right? He said, well, he had 4 Amazon bestsellers. He has 5 books out and 4 collaboration books. And he was quite willing to acknowledge that he had those collaboration books, right? That they are a part of his platform, a part of who he is and his message that's out there. And so I think there's maybe a resurgence taking place in the value of those collaboration books. Would you agree with that, or have you seen anything of that?
I've seen, I think as well, it depends how you market a collaboration book, and dare I say, the quality of the editing involved. Because
Yes.
I was involved with a collaboration book that never happened. I was gifted it as a present, something that I won on one of the Facebook lives of a colleague of mine.
Right.
And everyone else in that book collaboration, money changed hands, and then the book never happened. So I think this is where we get, there's good and bad in everything. And where something is done well, like the collaboration books, people jump on the bandwagon and they don't necessarily do as good a job, and then they taint it for everyone else. So when there's
Right.
good, high quality editors, there's people that know their task, they know their work inside and out, there will
Right.
always be that chance for book collaborations. But obviously that
Right.
comes with price as well. If you pay pittance, you will get rubbish. I'm sorry, but that's the way it goes, because people don't fully
Yeah.
know. They don't know what's involved with it. You pay
Right.
more to be part of a book collaboration, and you get the high quality stuff. You know that the content is good, you know it's written well, and that the editing is done well, and also that whole package brought together with the book cover, the way things are marketed, the way it's put up to Amazon. Yes, it all comes together. Therefore, book collaborations are still a very good idea. There's also those that think it's a good idea, do no research, don't really know what they're doing. How many of us have we seen ebooks that are put on to Kindle that shouldn't really have been published? It's something they've
Right.
pulled together, that the quality is bad. Some of it you see grammatical errors and simple typos that a good editor would have picked up, a proofreader would have
Right.
picked,
Right.
and often we don't see that. So yes, I do think book collaborations are still very useful, and there's still the market for it. But as with all things, we have to whittle out those that aren't of such a high quality, because they will pull everyone else down.
Agreed. Agreed. I know I've been a part of, I think I'm in 5 collaboration books, I think, uh, all of which I believe are bestsellers on Amazon. And so that's an exciting piece too, that you add to your resume, or to your, what is it you call it over there? You don't call it a resume, you call it a
CV, curriculum vitae or vitae, which is that is the Latin for CV. Yeah, resume.
gotcha. Right. CV. Yes. So, um, yeah, I mean, once you are a best-selling author, nobody can take that away from you, right? Even if that book is no longer at the top of the bestseller list, or no longer at the top of the charts, it was still a bestseller, and that's something you can definitely put on that CV or that resume. So, um, Yeah. So in fact, you and I have some projects going on collaboration books. It's part of the collaboration work that we're doing, right?
Yes. And that then feeds into our joint partnership where we've got an idea and we've run with it to make it something bigger and better as well, and where we can think of add-ons and services
Yes.
that will work with it. And this is where collaboration is so good. It starts off with that embryonic idea and you can grow and you can build from it. And that's where the joint venture piece, where you both bring your ideas and
Yeah.
everything together, and it just grows, and both entities really earn from it as well. And that is what's so fantastic, because it
Yeah.
comes from just that little idea and it becomes a whole living entity itself.
Yep. It just mushrooms. And when it's Pearl and I working on it, you know it's a big mushroom. Well, let's talk about another collaboration book that you have going on right now, which is your International Women's Day project.
Yeah.
Remind us a little bit about that project and what that collaboration is.
Now, this is one that's definitely morphed and grown just this month. So far, I think I've done 3, could have been 4 panels. I must admit, not had as big a pickup as we had last year, but again, this is where we see things change. What worked last time doesn't always work the next time. And
Good
it's
point.
learning to do that, because yes, I've put everything in place as I did last year, and not everyone is able to make the dates that I've had available. So we've had slightly smaller panels, but this has grown where International Women's Day always has a theme. And of course, the theme for this year is breaking the bias. And just from the flow of the conversation on the International Women's Day panel, I am starting a brand new collaboration, or lots of collaborations, where we truly work on breaking a bias. Now,
Oh,
consider,
wow.
when we spoke about this, I said it's political. I'm not touching a thing.
I remember that.
Literally, the conversations that have come out where everyone has seen the idea of a bias from so many different ways, and this is what is getting women excited. And we might take 1 or 2, maybe 3 key subjects, and we will
Right.
break the bias. We will become a movement.
Wow.
So
Wow.
this is going to grow. And you see, this well, you all know this is how my mind works. I do one thing and I see how there is a spin-off from it. And like last year, we just talked about the women coming together for International Women's Day.
Right.
This year, we're going to become a movement. This year, we become
Awesome.
a movement where we actually break that bias. We will make a difference. And I think
That's amazing.
this is where it grows. So, yes,
Yes.
and it just comes in so many different ways. And yes, there might be political things involved. I mean, I was talking about Ukraine on the call yesterday, and I didn't think I'd ever touch that. And yet it just felt right at the
It
time.
was right.
The way the conversation was going,
Yep.
it was
Yep.
something that needed to be said.
Very good. You said something a minute ago that I want us to go back and touch on. You talked about the changes that have occurred between last year's program and this year's program and how you need to adjust. I'd like to steer us in a direction here for just a moment of talking about the difference between shiny object syndrome, just chasing after everything and this looks bright and that looks bright and I'm going to check that out, versus staying educated on the market and how you need to adapt in the market.
Yeah.
I mean, because when you were saying that, I thought, yeah, that is really important that we stay on top of that market, but it's important to have direction,
Yeah.
right? How do you, I know how I do it. How do you avoid shiny object syndrome, Pearl?
Well, it's the way I approach project management. And I think you and I have had this discussion. I think a strong project manager is one that knows when to stop a project. You don't see it through to fruition if it isn't working. If you're losing money hand over fist, and we see this across governments the world over, where certain projects going out because it was in their manifesto they are going to do that.
Yeah.
And then we find it's not really fit for purpose, yet they carry on doing it because
Right.
they think that they should. I'm here to say I feel the best project manager is the one that says, this isn't working, it's losing money, we stop now and we reassess and we move forward on a different tack. That's what I look at when I do things. And yes, I talked about the phenomenal growth in engagement I got last year. It's not going to be the same this year. Yes, I've got less women involved. Most are really engaged and want to take part. And surprisingly, it's people that weren't involved last year.
Oh, interesting.
A lot of the ladies that I approached that were part of last year's are too busy this year. And again, I think this is coming out of lockdown with COVID being part of our lives now. It's a good news story that not everyone can join in because they're busy. Their business is growing. So that's where I think it makes the difference.
And you know, I love that you bring that point out that this year they're busier. So one could make the leap that that exposure that they got through the collaboration last year could have potentially enhanced their business, right?
Yeah.
Could have enhanced their business to where they now have more going on, and so they weren't able to participate this year.
And also, I mean, there is some, and people that know me and have been in my messenger groups, they know when I'm triggered by something because I go into quite a rant, and I'm the first to admit that yes, I do go into a rant. There were some ladies last year that really took advantage of my network and introduced people onto their podcast, and their podcast skyrocketed because I'd say for the last 12 months, their guests have all been people out of my network that came from my International Women's Day project.
Right.
Yes, half of me thinks, yes, that's good and it's great, but sometimes it would be really nice business etiquette to say that this was through an introduction, and so many people don't. So it was my bringing people together, and that hasn't been mentioned at all. And not once was I asked to be a guest, yet those same people have been guests multiple times on my podcast, which I know it shouldn't matter, and it should be me saying sour grapes. But you know me well enough now, Regina. If there's something I need to say, I'll be honest and open so that people, because quite often what I'm saying is probably what other people are feeling, and they're never brave enough to say it.
But that's an interesting point, though, that there is etiquette that should be observed. There are rules in business. There are, you know, there's professionalism, and part of being collaborative is acknowledging those introductions, acknowledging those relationships that came out of it. I recently made some introductions to some people in the finance world, and you know, they not only acknowledge that back, but they're willing to compensate you on, you know, or to give you a referral fee, even though that wasn't in our discussion at all. They're willing to do that based on business that comes out of that relationship. But there's a level of professionalism there that needs to go throughout this collaborative movement. And you know, it's easy to think, oh, well, you know, so and so, maybe it's Pearl, maybe it's somebody else, has a group of people, and I'm going to see who all I can, you know, connect with in that group. But there's a right way and a wrong way to do those things, right?
Yeah. And we see this so much on LinkedIn as a platform, because for ages groups took a nosedive. That used to be really good, that
Yeah.
everyone would join groups, and then they were being spammed. People would join a group, and
Right.
sometimes it's through naivety where they don't know they might be new
Yeah.
in business. And so the
Right.
first thing they do is they will post all about what they've got. It might not be anything to do with the topic of the conversation, but they want to
Right.
get the business out there.
Yeah.
And I think that's why so many people stopped using groups, because it disappeared for a while. And I do see groups coming back and
Yep.
being more engaging. But this is as well, we've had this conversation on other platforms about other things, but when we look at social media, especially since we've been in lockdown, people have changed and might have started a brand new business, but they don't understand the intricacies, the sheer good manners that come
Right.
from running a good business and being a good business person. You don't
Right.
leave your morals at the door. You keep your morals with you, and you work well. You don't just see something and think, half the time it smacks of desperation because someone
Yeah.
wants to earn money. But that desperation comes through if you're seen to constantly be posting on other people's groups, on other people's comments, without really understanding the background. There goes my voice. This is where people need to realize, and it comes through to business etiquette again, and
It
knowing
does.
if you wouldn't like it done to you, please don't do it to others.
That's exactly where I was going to go with that. That is exactly where I was going to go. Think about how you would feel in that situation,
Yeah,
and and have good manners. Just have good manners. Be respectful. You're out in collaborations. You're out to create long-term relationships, not to just go through and burn things up. It's not a one-time shot and you destroy the field after you go through it. It's a long-term relationship, and you want to cultivate the types of relationships that are going to get you introduced to more people, right?
and when you've got a collaboration that works, it works for everyone, and it makes
Exactly.
everyone successful.
Exactly.
And that's again, like we talked about the book collaborations, where there's the good and the bad, and that's where people
Yep.
have jumped on the bandwagon, haven't known their subject, and they've done a bad job at something.
Right.
Whereas if you put the effort in, and yes, you do pay more for the high quality collaborations because you
Yes.
know you're going to get the correct results. You're guided by the experts, and that makes such a difference.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's, it's exciting. Just talk for just a second here about some of the book projects that you and I are creating. We've talked about your Women Who Lead, the International Women's Day, but we've put together a package that I think is stellar in this arena for getting people into their first, or maybe it's not their first, best-selling book on Amazon, starting with a collaboration book, but leading them up to their own book, leading them, through coaching and those kinds of things. There's a lot of things in our package
Yes,
that really make it an outstanding package for folks.
definitely, definitely.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
again, the book collaborations I see as a taster. I think there will always be a need for that, and that taster of that chapter is that the reader, your audience, gets to engage with you and then wants to know more. That could lead to coaching opportunities for you, could lead to speaking events, or people could reach out and say, there's potential here to build this whole chapter into a full book on its own.
right,
And that's where you start to think, yes, you can write that. Or you might find that other contributing authors you really connect with, and so you get together, maybe two authors come together to write a book together, could be three
right,
people, and you're still
right.
sharing that message, but you've learned from that single collaboration how to do it properly, how
Yeah,
to use good business etiquette, and to see the results that you get from that, and it
right.
makes such a difference.
it's not just about writing a chapter in a book, right?
Not at all. That's just the start. And anyone that
Yeah,
thinks, oh, yes, he's just writing that and you don't have to worry, that is just the start. And anyone
yeah,
who's serious about business, about growing their profile and growing their brand, I'd say a book collaboration, being a contributing author, that's the first foot
a
on
good
the
first step.
ladder. It is.
Absolutely. And speaking of collaborations, I want to announce here that Pearl and I are taking our collaborations to the next level in that we are now going to be having a podcast as well as our LinkedIn Live. And so we'll be announcing more about that as it comes along. It's in the design phases at the moment and coming along nicely. So that will be airing before long, and we'll let you know how you can get to that as soon as we have that up and going.
Yes.
Yeah,
We know, we listen, and we see, like we said, we watch and see how the engagement goes. People consume their media in different ways, and podcasts are still growing and growing and growing because that's the
yeah,
way people like to listen to their audio now is through
right.
podcasts.
Yep, yep. And it's, you don't have to be in front of your computer or to do so, and so it gives you a little more. Well, I mean, you don't have to be in front of your computer to watch this either, but I think a lot of folks do. um, I know I'm a computer consumer more than a phone consumer, which makes me uh, different than the vast majority of the market. So many consume their content and do everything on their phone, and I like a keyboard. I like having the bigger screen. So anyway, but that will give you more ways, more places that you can consume the content. So we're excited to be able to bring that to you very shortly, and we'll keep you posted on that.
Definitely.
Um, any final words, Pearl, this morning about collaborations?
Go for it. Really think, join some of the collaborations that Regina and I are speaking about. You are more than welcome. But also have a think if you've got an idea that you want to grow. And this is where I'm going to say my thing. I'm going to get it right because I kept getting it the wrong way round. When you're one person, your message is but a whisper. When you come together to collaborate, that joint message, that joint voices becomes a roar. The first
Yes.
time when I did that, I got it all the wrong way round. I was talking about this and roaring the wrong way round. But yes, this is what is so great with collaboration. As one of many, your voice becomes a roar, and that can only
Yes.
be good.
Yes. Very, very good. Excellent. Awesome. I just want to put in one other little comment as my parting thought here too, and that is that um, another collaboration program that I'm working on is a business superheroes mastermind type of event that will be announcing soon. So stay tuned. You'll hear more about business superheroes. So awesome. Pearl, great visiting with you again this morning. Love your pearls of wisdom. I always learn from you and always enjoy our time together.
Thank you. Likewise, that feeling is mutual. I learn from you every day.
It is a win-win, right? And you mentioned about wins a moment ago, and one of the comments I wanted to come back with at that point was that, in everything that I do, I look for a triple win. It needs to be a win for the person that I'm partnering with. It needs to be a win for me, and it needs to be a win for our clients. So always looking for that win, win, win. And if you come into every collaborative conversation with that idea in mind, you will find phenomenal results. If you also, when you're joining groups, as Pearl was talking about that group etiquette, and we were talking about business etiquette, again, have that win-win-win frame of mind, and you will be amazed at what you can create.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. Definitely.
awesome. All righty, folks. We will see you on Thursday when Pearl and I come back together again to share more collaboration conversations. Bye bye.
Bye.